The imperial palace of Vendra Prime gleamed under the light of 3 suns, its crystalline spires reaching toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Empress Kalira stood upon the observation deck, her silver robes flowing in the filtered breeze, watching her fleet prepare for the ceremonial parade. She was the ruler of 17 systems, beloved by trillions, protected by the finest warriors the galaxy could produce, or so everyone believed. Private Marcus Webb stood at his post near the secondary entrance, his rifle held at rest, his eyes constantly scanning. He was human, one of the newest species to join the Vendran Alliance, and his presence in the Imperial Guard was more symbolic than practical. The other guards, tall Vendrans with their 4 arms and natural combat prowess, barely acknowledged him. To them, he was a political statement, a gesture of goodwill toward the upstart species from Earth. Marcus did not mind. He had not joined the Guard for glory or recognition. He had joined because it was his duty, and duty meant something to humans in a way the other species did not quite understand. The parade below was magnificent. Thousands of ships moved in perfect formation, their hulls painted in the royal colors of gold and violet. Crowds filled every plaza and boulevard, cheering their Empress. It was a day of celebration, marking 50 years of peace in the Sector. Commander Thane, captain of the Imperial Guard, stood beside the Empress, his forearms clasped behind his back in ceremonial posture. He was a decorated warrior, his carapace bearing the scars of a dozen campaigns. Next to him, Marcus looked almost comically small, barely reaching the Vendran's shoulder. "Your Majesty," Thane said, his voice a deep rumble. "The fleet reports all formations optimal. The ceremony will proceed as planned." Kalira smiled, her face serene. She had ruled with wisdom and compassion, and her people loved her for it. This parade was not just a celebration of peace, but a testament to her leadership. Marcus noticed it. First a flicker in the crowd below, movement against the pattern. His training kicked in instantly. While others watched the spectacle, he watched the anomalies. 3 figures moving too purposefully through the plaza, clothing wrong for the weather, postures tense beneath forced casualness. His hand moved to his communicator, but before he could speak, the world exploded. The first blast came from the western tower, a shaped charge that tore through the ceremonial guard stationed there. The second came from below, punching through the observation deck's shield generators. Alarms screamed. The crystalline floor cracked beneath their feet. Thane reacted instantly, his warrior instincts honed by years of combat. He grabbed the Empress and pulled her back, his 4 arms forming a protective cage around her body. The other guards formed up, weapons raised, scanning for threats, but they were all looking the wrong way. Marcus saw the assassin emerge from the maintenance shaft behind them, having used the blasts as cover. The attacker was Rellan, a species known for their speed and precision. In its 3-fingered hands, it held a plasma cutter, modified for close combat. Its target was obvious. Time seemed to slow. Marcus calculated angles and distances in the fraction of a heartbeat. The assassin was already moving, incredibly fast, a blur of motion aimed at the Empress's exposed back. Thane was still turning, too slow despite his combat prowess. The other guards were still focused on external threats. The human did not think. He simply moved. Marcus threw himself forward, not away from danger, but into it. His body became a barrier between the blade and the Empress. He felt rather than saw the plasma cutter descend, felt the searing heat as it struck his shoulder instead of Kalira's spine. The pain was extraordinary. The weapon burned through his armor and into flesh, severing muscle and scoring bone. Marcus screamed, but he did not fall. He could not fall. Not yet. His right arm was useless, but his left still worked. He brought his rifle up one-handed, an impossible shot at this angle, with his body already failing. But humans had something the other species often underestimated. They were very, very good at fighting through pain that should have rendered them unconscious. Marcus pulled the trigger. The shot took the assassin in the chest, punching through its natural armor. It staggered, confused. No being should still be standing after taking a plasma cutter to the shoulder. No being should still be fighting. But Marcus Webb was human, and humans were exceptionally difficult to stop. He fired again and again, each shot placed with desperate precision. The assassin fell, its weapon clattering across the cracked floor. Only then did Marcus allow himself to collapse. He was aware of shouting, of movement around him. Medical teams swarmed the deck. Thane was barking orders, securing the area. But Marcus focused on just one thing. The Empress was safe. He could see her, shocked but unharmed, staring down at him with wide eyes. "Medic!" someone shouted. "The human is critical." Marcus felt hands on him, felt the sting of emergency injections. His vision was fading, the edges going dark. He had lost too much blood. The wound was too severe. Commander Thane's face appeared above him, all four eyes wide, with something Marcus could not quite identify. "Why?" the Vendran demanded. "You should have called for backup. You should have let the protocols handle it." Marcus tried to speak, but his voice was weak. "No time," he managed. "Had to." "You will die," Thane said, and there was something like awe in his voice. "You knew you would likely die." Marcus would have shrugged if his shoulder had still worked. "Maybe," he whispered. But she would not. The Empress pushed through the guards surrounding Marcus, kneeling beside him despite the protests of her security. She placed a hand on his uninjured arm, her touch gentle. "I do not understand," she said softly. "We barely know each other. You are not even Vendran. Why would you sacrifice yourself for me?" Marcus looked up at her, his vision tunneling. This was important. She needed to understand. "Because," he said, each word in effort, "you are worth protecting. Because when danger comes, someone has to stand. Because running was not an option." "But you could have died," she insisted. "Maybe." Marcus felt his consciousness slipping away. "But humans do not measure worth by survival. We measure it by what we protect." The medical team worked frantically, their instruments humming. A Vendran doctor shook his head. "The damage is too extensive. We need to get him to surgery now, but I cannot promise anything." Kalira stood, her face hardening into the expression that had ruled 17 systems. "You will save him," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "You will use every resource at our disposal. This soldier will not die because he chose to protect me." They carried Marcus away on an anti-grav stretcher. As consciousness finally left him, his last thought was simple: duty done. 3 days later, Marcus woke in the Royal Medical Wing, alive but forever changed. The doctors had saved him, but his shoulder would never fully recover. His fighting days were over. The Empress visited him personally, an honor that left the medical staff speechless. She dismissed her attendants and sat beside his bed. "You will want for nothing," she told him. "Wealth, position, a place of honor in my court. Name it, and it is yours." Marcus shook his head slowly. "Just doing my job, Your Majesty. Your job." She smiled sadly. "Your job was to guard the entrance. Your job was to follow protocols. Your job was not to throw yourself between me and a plasma cutter. My job," Marcus corrected gently, "was to keep you safe. Everything else was just details." Kalira studied him for a long moment. "I have learned something about humans these past days," she said finally. "I thought I understood your species, but I was wrong. You are not strong like the Vendrans, not fast like the Relans, not numerous like the Tekker. But you have something perhaps more valuable. What is that? You do not calculate survival. When others run from danger, when others measure their odds and choose safety, humans simply do what needs to be done. It is illogical. It is irrational. It is magnificent. Marcus managed a weak smile. We prefer the term stubborn. She laughed, a genuine sound of relief and joy. The assassin confessed under questioning. There were more of them, a whole network planning to strike during the parade. But when they saw what you did, how you reacted, they scattered. They realized that if one human guard was that difficult to overcome, their entire plan was compromised. Good, Marcus said simply. Kalira stood, preparing to leave, but paused at the door. Private Marcus Webb, when you are healed, I would like you to remain in my service. Not as a guard, though you have certainly earned that position 1,000 times over. I want you to train others, to teach them what it means to truly stand between danger and those who need protection. I would be honored. Your Majesty. After she left, Marcus lay back against his pillows and stared at the ceiling. His shoulder ached, a dull throb that would likely never completely fade. His career as a frontline soldier was finished, but he had done what he set out to do. When danger came, when all others ran or froze or calculated odds, a human had stood firm. He had proven that humanity belonged among the stars, not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because when it truly mattered, they would not yield. The other races might have natural weapons, might have superior reflexes, might have evolved for combat in ways humans never did. But humans had something else entirely. They had the absolute, stubborn, illogical certainty that some things were worth,